Hey guys, welcome back to the This Is Soul Skate Shop YouTube channel. The tighter your skate is, the better your performance is. A skate should kind of feel like a good handshake. Nice and firm. A lot of people here in the store, when they try on skates, think that a skate is too tight when the toe touches their front. But actually, it's the other way around. If the toe would not touch the front, the skate would definitely be too big. In this video, I'll explain you everything there is to know about making your skate fit better around your foot and increasing your performance. We are here, of course, in the This Is Soul Skate Shop. And if you ever want to get a skate that fits your foot perfectly, the best thing to do is to fly over to Amsterdam and come here and try on all the skates that are on the market. Because if you really want to know how your foot fits the boot, you have to try it on. I'll try my best in this video to give you online advice on how each of those skates fit and give you tips on how to improve the fit. When we're thinking about sizing, usually we're thinking about skate length and foot length and shoe length. And we're not thinking so much about width or height. And in a normal shoe, you can kind of get away with it because a shoe is normally from like fabrics, and like my shoe right here, it's only underneath my ankle. So this part here doesn't do that much. There's nice and laces here. So the length is kind of like a really fine indicator for the general size for shoes. But for skates, it really doesn't cut it, because if you have a good skate, it's nice and solid and snug around your foot. And this shape really has 3 dimensions and not just one. If you have a normal foot, then this will just work fine. No problem there. If you just have an average foot, it's good to just take the normal EU or UK or US or centimeter sizing, which are all length based, and then probably the width and the height will also work out. If you have a narrow foot and it's really long for how wide it is, then you have to think that it should definitely have your toes kind of cramp in it to make the width nice and tight as well. So if you have a long foot, a narrow foot, you cannot get away with the fact that your toe will touch the front. If you have a normal foot, your toe should always also touch the front. But if you have a wide foot, then having your foot touch the front is not the most important part, because the control of your skate does not come from your foot touching the front. It comes from this part here. It comes from the wrap around your ankle, from where my shoelaces are here. If the skate is nice and tight over there, then you have a lot of control. So having your toes touch the front is both the most important thing in a skate, and it's both not the most important thing in the skate. If you have a normal foot and the skate is shaped in the same shape as your foot, then it should touch. If you have a really wide foot and you just cannot get a skate in your shape of your foot, then just make sure that it's at least really tight here. So that's how sizing for your foot works. Now let's check how sizing for the boots work. And most of the boots on the market, as you see here, are hard boots like these. And with hard boots, I mean skates that you can take the liner out of. For example, here, this skate is one of the best sellers at this moment. It's the UFR 90. And I just took out this intuition liner and you're left with the plastic shell. For soft boots, I cannot take out the liner. So here's a Seba carbon based boot and the inside is kind of like glued on here. I cannot take it out. And then there's broadly 2 categories of soft boots: the cheap ones or the bad ones, which you should avoid at all cost, and the carbon ones. So if you have a soft boot which is not carbon, probably it's a bad soft boot. Most likely. Maybe there's 1 or 2 exceptions, like the Seba CJ2 is still like a good functioning soft boot with plastic, or maybe there's a few examples, but as a broad rule, don't go for the plastic soft boots. So most skates on the market are however, the hard boot types. Also because those carbon soft boots, they're really expensive, and the non-carbon ones are too bad. So most people are not getting the soft boots, most people are buying a hard boot. So if you're in doubt of what you should get, this is the most value for money. And what a lot of the companies do is they put in different liners into the same shell. So this is called the shell, and there's different shell sizes. But because these shells are really expensive to make, they don't make them in each individual size. The sizes kind of like jump 1 or 2 sizes every time, or maybe 3 sizes. And then the liners inside are just a little bit smaller for the smaller sizes. But we don't really believe in that, because the right way to approach this would be, if you just have a shell, to fill it up with more padding if you have a size smaller, but actually it's done the opposite. So the smaller sizes are just smaller liners, but it's not the same liner with the same outside measurements, but more padding on the inside, which make your foot have less room, so it would make it actually a size smaller. The liners are just smaller, so it leaves you with a lot of extra room in the toe area. And I can tell you that these liners, they will move, they will become warm, they will become moist or wet, and it will become like an old cloth. It will totally be ripped apart, disintegrate almost after you skate it for a while. And the liner will totally shape, it will mold to the room that's available between your foot here and the shell. So whatever room you have available between your foot and the shell, that's where this liner is gonna be in the end. So even if, let's say, this would be a size 44 shell and you put a size 43 liner in there, this 43 liner will fill up this shell and it will become a 44 anyway. So in general, it's a bad idea to get a smaller liner in a shell. We, as a shop, really stand behind this. That's why we also pushed for the dual sizing system, which is now getting adopted globally in the world by most of the brands. It all started with us advising all those brands to do it, and slowly they're pushing to it as well. We never have skates with a smaller liner in the shell in our shop as well. So the right way to think about sizing is your foot has a length, a width and a height. The skate has a length, a width and a height. And you should find a shell that fits your length, width and height the best as possible. We have measured all the inside length of all the shells. So if you have a normal shaped foot, then you can just look at that list. It's on our YouTube. We made a video about it. Comparing shell sizes is the name of the video. In the description of that video is an Excel sheet, and it lists all the shells, hard boot shells on the market, and you can sort it exactly by the inside measurements. Someday in the future we'll do a width video as well, but right now that information is just not available because none of the brands really provide the inside measurements. So we have to do it as a shop ourselves. And yeah, we make a new video every week. So someday this will be a future video as well. And we'll include all that information on our website as well. But for now, just know that if you really want to know the inside length of the shell, that's at least available already. So how to know if a skate is the right size for you? Well, if you already have a skate at home, and I hope you do, otherwise I feel sorry for you, and I hope you can improve on your life soon enough. So if you already have a skate at home, then how to know if everything is working correctly. And the right way to do it is to lace the skate all the way to the top. Of course, I'm going to put the liner in it. Then you must close the buckle and the ankle buckle, and you have to flex the skate forward like this. You see this hinge here, or this screw or bolt, whatever you want to call it. I just push it forward and can go back as well. You see that? What I'm doing now, I just push it forward. I'm going to do that when I'm having everything on my foot. All right, so close everything really tight, like this. And then I'm gonna, when I sit, I can just roll my foot backwards and put my knee over my toe like this. And this is the position that you should feel the sizing in, because normally when you're skating, your knee should always be over your toes as well. If you do this and you move the cuff forward, so you flex on it, then your heel will move to the back. If you have everything open, like you have not laced it and your buckle are open, then your foot is pushed to the front actually, because there's a lot of padding here in the back of the skate, and there's nothing holding you back. So if you have a skate that's actually in your size and you just put it on for the first time and it feels way too tight, that should be normal. If you have a skate for the first time, you put it on and it feels like a perfect fit, but nothing is laced yet and your knee is not over toe, then it's probably way too big. So you should only think about the skate size in this position when everything is closed. You can do it sitting down like this, or you can just do it standing up like this, and actually having your foot next to each other like this makes it so that your knee is in the best position. So just don't stand like this or like any weird position, just your foot next to each other, one leg where your shoe is on can be straight, and then automatically where your skate is in the proper position. Just stand up straight normally like this. And that's kind of like the same position as you have when you're sitting down like that. And then it should feel overall tight, like a good handshake, nice and tight. Here, 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 and of course at the toes as well. If you can move your foot too much like this, then you should think about ways to improve the fit. Then the second way to measure how a skate fits your foot is by not wearing it like this, but wearing it without the liner. So I'm gonna take it off. And never, never, ever try on the liner without the skate. Because the liner is probably a little bit in an angle. There's a lot of padding here around the Achilles heel, which will push your foot forward if you don't have the laces and the buckle to push you backwards. So a liner in the right size without the skate on is gonna feel way too tight. It's tight, no. But it's actually the right size. So, okay, what you do is you try on the skate without the liner. That's what you do. And because that's the part that's actually like, that's the skate. So that's what you want to know if your foot fits in there. And you want to see how much room you have left. Like, can you still move your foot left and right a little bit like this? Can you still wiggle? If you can wiggle too much, if there's like more than like a centimeter of room or even like 2 centimeters of room, then probably the skate's way too wide for you. In the length, if you can shove your foot back and forth more than 2 centimeters, then you probably need to downsize. A good way to measure it is to put your foot slightly to the front, let your toes slightly touch, softly touch in the front, and then you can feel in the back how much room you have. If you can put one finger behind your heel like this, then I would say you have a nice performance fit. That's the fit that I would like. On some skates, I even like to have maybe even less than a finger, that I can barely put my finger in there, but that's me. I'm really weird on this. Probably for you, that's a no-go. Like 1 finger is already a pretty tight performance fit. 1.5 fingers, that's like a normal fit. That's what most people probably would want. That's kind of like a comfortable fit. So if you can put 1 finger on it and you can feel that like a half extra finger would still work. If you can, however, put 2 fingers behind your heel like this, at this point here in the lowest part of your boot, then yeah, that's just way too big. Maybe with the thickest liner in the world, like a liner that has like centimeters of padding, you might be able to fill up that shell. And that's the next topic of this video. Like, what if you watch this at home, and I hope you do, I hope you try on your skate without the liner and think about how the liner sizing actually is. And you are one of those persons where you have like 2 centimeters of room and you're listening to me talk to this and you think like, fuck, now I need to improve my skate. Okay, then this next section is for you. So if you have too much room in your skate, you need to fill it up. And like we said before, there's length, width and height. But actually length is not the most important, while it is the most important, but it's also not. So if we want to improve the performance of a skate, we're not going to focus too much on length. There's no point in putting like something extra at the toe area. That's not what we're doing here. We want to make sure that the skate is a lot tighter here, around the ankle and the top of your foot. That's the main goal. And there's a couple of ways we can do it. Of course, we can put in a thicker liner. This Intuition Skate Premium liner is actually really thick around the tongue. So that can help. One of the thickest liners is also the rain liners are really thick. And the MyFit crown liners are really thick. The Fat Boy is kind of fit. It doesn't really hold promise to its name. If you want to know how thick a liner really is, we made a video about this topic. As always, you can basically find about any topic, you can find it on our YouTube channel. And for what I did in that video is I just took my fingers. It's not the best way to measuring, but at least it's something. I just took my fingers and put it on the thickest part of the liner. That's here. And then like this. And then I measured the thickness of the thickest part of the liner. And that's what you can find on all the specs list on our web shop. So if you want to compare the thickness of the liners, you can do it on our web shop like that. So that's one way, put a thicker liner in it. Then another way to reduce the volume in the skate is with the volume reducer. Let's go to our accessories cabinet. Then we have here a volume reducer. This one is from the Superfeet brand, but we also have it from the Rollerblade brand. And it's basically a piece of foam. They work great. It's nice and hard foam because you don't want to have any absorption, like a shock absorption. It's a really bad idea if you want to have a good performing skate. But you can, of course, take any piece of foam. If you have a nice and thick, strong piece of foam at home, you can just cut it in the right length. You can put it in the skate like this, up, and then like that. Perfect. Then you put your liner over that, and you're gonna notice that your foot will be smashed together a lot better. So that's great. That's what we want. Then another way to do it is with the Superfeet insole. Those are over here. And what the Superfeet does is it has a really hard cup. It's solid plastic. You cannot bend it. It's super solid. And it has a heel cup. And this heel cup locks your foot into a certain position. So there's basically two positions that your foot can be in. One is a flat position where I stand on it and it's kind of like squeezed flat. And then when I measure my foot on the scale, I see that it's 29.5 centimeters. But when I have the same scale and I put it in a relaxed position, now my foot is relaxed, there's no weight on it, then you can see that my foot is actually 28.5. So that's 1 centimeter shorter. Now it's a little bit confusing because we're trying to fill up space, but I also already said that length is not the filling up part that you need to worry about. When your foot is in the proper relaxed position, it's also a little bit arched and then it's also higher. So having your foot in the relaxed position increases the height. And the Superfeet, because it's so hard, it locks your foot in the relaxed position. And that's the position that your foot wants to be in. That's also the position that you have the most performance. And in that position, there's also a little bit more height. And that's what we want. So if you have too much room in your skate, having a Superfeet in it is not just only like that it adds some room, because of course this has a thickness and this has a thickness to it, but it also creates height because your foot is arched more. Then one other thing that you should always do when you want to increase the fit of a skate is, of course, lace it better. Just crank those laces super, super tight. We have a special lacing technique. It's in our YouTube shorts. We'll link it in the description of this video. And with that lacing technique, it may sound weird if you've not tried it yet, but you can really tighten your laces a lot faster than normal. So check out that video in the description. If you have a soft boot like this, or it's mostly done with the Seba CJs, but any of these carbon soft boots, you can gut it. And then if you gut a skate, you can do it in two ways. I explained all this in one of our last YouTube videos, so if you want to learn more about gutting skates, then do it there. Gutting basically means taking out all the inside padding of a skate. And if you have a skate at home that's way too loose, then you can take out some of the inside padding and then put a liner in it. Of course, we always advise the Intuition liners because it's the best performing liner. And adding the liner will then add more foam, of course, and it will hold your foot then better in the skate. Like I said, there's two ways to gutting it. You can take out just the padding, But on the far side of the padding, so between the padding and then the carbon, is an extra layer of lining. And if you don't take out that lining and then put a liner over the lining, then the skate will be super cramped. If you want to have a little bit more room, you can also take out the lining later, and then it will give a little bit more room again. Okay, now we come to the most important topic of this video. That's actually downsizing. Downsizing means getting a smaller shell. And then if you get a smaller shell, it's going to be super tight, of course. And maybe if you want to downsize and you're doubting to downsize, it would be good to have a slimmer liner, so a liner with less padding in it. For example, we have this Intuition liner here. It's from the new Wizard base skate, and it's super slim. So this is the new Wizard base liner. It's one of the thinnest liners ever made, and it will give you, for sure, more length, if you need the length though. Be cautious that it's also really slim over here. And when you downsize your skate, you want your foot to be pushed in the back of the skate as much as possible. So when you're downsizing, I advise you to tighten the laces extra hard, which is really counterintuitive because you think you want to have a skate fit looser, and looser usually translates to the laces being looser. But in skating, that's not how it is. If you want the skate to be loose in the length, you want it to be tight at the laces, because the laces actually push your foot to the back, okay? Another thing, especially in the beginning, if you're like trying to get used to a new skate and you just downsized, you finally did it, then having your knees more over your toes while you're skating will also push your foot more to the back. Because this liner and most other liners that you're gonna find which have less padding also have less padding at the top, it will also push your foot less to the back. So the first challenge is, of course, to find a shell that fits your foot. We do our best to provide all the right fitting information on our web shop. We include the width information, the length information, and the height information. For the length, you can find our shell sizing list and sort all the shells by length. In the future, we probably have the width available as well. But the best thing, of course, to do is to come to our shop and to try really the skates on. Then once you found your perfect shell, then the next question is automatically the liner. You want to have a thin liner, of course, because usually the stock liners are not the best for your newfound love. The shell that fits finally your foot. Let me show you what I mean with that. For example, this is a new skate. It's the Icon CL20. And if you look here, you can see through this hole that I can see there's room behind the back of the liner and the back of the shell. That's crazy, because you really want to have a liner that fills up this space here, because you want to utilize that space. You want to downsize, you want to have a shell that's as tight as possible around your foot while still being comfortable. So you want to utilize that space. Then I have another skate. Where is it? This is the Seba E3, and here you can kind of like see the same thing. You can see through this hole that the liner does not even touch the front of the shell here. And that's kind of the same with most of these hard boots on the market. Most of the hard boots, let's say you have a size 41, 42 shell, you get like the 42 liner in it, but then from the same brand, you grab a size 43 liner and you put it in the size 41, 42 shell, it will still fit perfectly. This is really weird, and I never understood why these brands keep doing that. But putting a bigger liner into a shell that's officially not meant for that size will definitely increase the length of the room that's available. So if you really want to downsize, just putting any liner that's bigger than the official size, that will also be already a good step. If you want to buy a liner, then usually the stock liners are not the ones that you want. You want to get something like a really thin Intuition liner, like this Wizard base liner, or the MyFit Second Skin is a really slim one. The MyFit Skinny Boy is a really slim one. So there's a bunch of liners, but also maybe just an old liner that you have at home still from an old pair of skates that's just really comfortable. because liners get thinner and thinner after you skate it for a while. So maybe putting in an old liner in the beginning is also the right way to do it. If you listen carefully with math on school, you remember Pythagoras, right? That's the guy with the triangles. And if you're in a diagonal position, that room is longer than the A and the B planes. So if you have a heel raise in your skate, you have actually more length. So one of the things that you can do is to put a small heel raiser. We have them in the cabinet over here. Usually you can find them under the Numer shock absorbers. But I'm not a fan too much about shock absorption because it also absorbs your energy. And we have these Superfeet heel raiser, is it called? And it's actually super hard. I would not get like a soft shock absorber. If I were you, I would get a hard one, because then all your techniques and your performance and also your energy is a lot better. Be wary though, because skates are not designed to have a heel raiser in it, because it changes everything in it. Precision of the cuff bolt, that's this thing, that's designed at a height, at least you hope that the designer thought about it, where it has a natural flex position. But if you suddenly sit higher and your ankle wants to flex here, but your skate wants to flex there, then that's not ideal. So in general, I would not advise putting heel raisers in boots, but maybe as a last resort, it's a good thing to realize that it's possible for sure. Maybe one of the best ways to make your skate fit better if it's downsized, so if you have a really cramped skate and it's really tight, is again with the Superfeet. Like I just explained to you, if you have your foot in this position, it also creates a shorter foot. It can be like at least a ½ centimeter. For me, it was even like a centimeter. We just measured it. So this is a really good way to make your skate smaller and your foot smaller as well. We also do custom Superfeets. We have this machine, and if you come to the store here, we can put your foot on this boom machine, and the machine vacuums the insole around your foot, and then you have the perfect fitting insole as well. And of course it's going to be a Superfeet insole, so your foot's going to be shorter. We hope to see you here, maybe for some custom insoles, maybe to try your perfect skate on, maybe just for some high fives. We also do skate nights, so we skate every Friday here at the shop, meet at 8, and then we go cruise through the city. So hopefully see you one day here in Amsterdam. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel because we make a new one every week. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.